Thank you for the opportunity for being able to give you a report on the work of Adventist Community Services humanitarian response to the calamities and the crisis that our country has been facing over the past few months. Friends, the community out there talks about a pandemic that is at unprecedented proportions. I would like to suggest to you that what we are facing today is calamities at biblical proportions. In other words, as Seventh-day Adventists, we know that these things were going to take place. Take, for instance, the droughts that took place in 2019. Look at the map of Australia and the vast territory that has been impacted by the drought. Look at very closely at our own conference territory, where nearly every square kilometre of our conference were impacted and severely affected by the drought. As I travelled through our conference, I saw how that farms had been destocked, how it met with farmers that had lost hope, not just the farmers, but also the people that worked with them. As a church, we responded to that, and we as the local churches helped their communities to respond to those needs. They ran out of resources. Adventist Community Service Department does not have a lot of finances available to be able to give out to the communities, and therefore we made a call on our largest city churches to adopt a rural church, which many of you had done and did phenomenal well in helping our local communities out west to be able to support their communities affected by the drought. I want to especially say a big thank you to Sanitarium for donating 29 pallets of sanitarium products and foods. That food, my friends, was generously being transported by one of our church members at Wallsend Church. I want to say thank you to him for that. Milkadamia provided 2 pallets of macadamia milk that we also distributed and helped the community with. I want to say thank you to all our volunteers, both church and non-church volunteers, that had been giving of themselves under very difficult circumstances. Sometimes they themselves were severely affected by the drought, but still they looked beyond themselves and kept on serving the community tirelessly. I want to say thank you to our churches, our church pastors, their boards, for making decisions of continuing the support of our Adventist Community Service volunteers and their teams and their operations, so that they could be effective in in helping their community. One of the negative outflows of the drought, other than the financial part, is the fact that it had a major bearing on the mental health of our communities. And therefore, some of the reports that came in as we spoke to some of the wives said to us, we as wives come together and we talk about these things and we process it and we support each other. We're worried about our men, because our men just leave the home, go into the paddock, and we don't see them come back again. Friends, therefore we developed a program to support our farmers in our community. Our depression recovery programs was specifically training of the churches out west so that they could equip the farmers in their community. I personally ran programs regarding resilience in the midst of major drought for those communities. Another area that hit us while the drought was still raging was that of the fires in 2019. And here I've just got a headline news report in a paper that said, "Everything is burning. Australian inferno continues, choking off access to cities across the country." It was as if the fires had a life of its own, lighting itself, continuing to keep on burning. Once again, our churches responded to that. With the support of Adventist Community Services, they opened their church doors. They fed their community in their church halls. They made beds for their community people. The community saw our church as a safe place, a place where they could turn to for help. Our youth convention centers opened their facilities and provided bedding and mattresses and pillows to 3 evacuation centers, became known as the place that cares. And some of our churches accommodated people for weeks on end. It became home for non-Adventist community people. A report that came in from Glen was that Waitaleba district was a group of people that had built in the bush. During the drought, they reached out to Glen Seventh Adventist Church and asked for help. Glen responded, and then the fire came and destroyed everything. Once again, Glen Church was the support, the line of help for these people, for their survival. Glen Church provided school breakfasts. In the past 2 years, they have primarily, over October, November, provided breakfasts, but the need became so intense that they eventually made a decision to provide breakfast, not just to a few of the churches, but for every school in their territory area that they covered. Newspaper reports were written about the help from the church. They continued further, namely with bags of dog food during the drought and the fire, making a decision that they would provide 1,000 bags of dog food to farmers every quarter. Surprised were they to see how the farmers in the community would respond, because they made use of other agencies to distribute that dog food to the farmers. But they very quickly received phone calls and the gratitude of the farmers that came in, with one farmer just bursting out in tears out of gratefulness for what Glen Church had been doing. One of the main services that Glen Church has been doing was their food pantry, their food ministry, and they are primarily focusing on serving food over 100 people per week that comes into their church. Glen needed to change the way that they operate their food pantry due to COVID-19. And they closed for a few weeks, but has just reopened and is providing a drive-through service. Many of our food pantries where they have been serving people in the community had to adjust with the coronavirus pandemic. Some of our services had to close down, but the majority adjusted, stayed open, and is a lifeline for their communities in providing food. A written report that Pastor Afi provided me is the pastor of Glen Tenterfield, where we've got in both places food pantries. He said in August 2019, food hampers were distributed in the district of Ben Lomond. 10 25 kilogram bags of dog food for the rural financial counseling service was handed off, and they distributed to the farmers that were struggling financially to keep going. Very soon, requests for more help arrived. September 2019, again, they requested more food were handed, dog food were handed, but with that came the request for drought hampers. So they started to provide hampered food, packed hampers of food that was given out to some of those farmers. Those food hampers became a lifeline, a connection with farmers who were mentally struggling to maintain their focus in the midst of the major drought. October 2019, 50 bags of dog food and boxes of hampers were handed over in the Glen region. November 2019, school breakfasts once again kicked in, supported by Woolworths with bread, fruit, sausages, eggs. February 2020, 7 large parcels delivered to Ben Lomond District, 30 minutes away from Glen Innes. 25 large food parcels delivered to Red Range District, 30 minutes away from Glen Innes. And so the list goes on and on and on of the service provided by a church. The question that we as a church ask, what will be the outcome? I'll shortly share with you, very shortly, about what we are seeing happening in another area. COVID-19 arrived early 2020 this year. And friends, here is a list of our churches. Something like 29 different ministries currently operating across our conference, from areas where ADRA is the logo that is branding some of our services, but others where Adventist Community Services is branding some of our services. With COVID-19, we have brought ADRA and Adventist Community Service, combined the two to work under the command structure of ADRA in response to this pandemic. And a phenomenal ministry has come out, and the way that our churches keep on adjusting to respond effectively to the needs of our community. It's interesting how that God sometimes opens new doors. A few years ago, when Adventist Community Services was established as a department in our conference, our first training program that we ran, one of our pastors invited a non-Adventist, not linked to one of our ministries, to come along and stay the whole weekend with us. He observed, he learned from us, and his request was whether he could attend every year when we do training, which him and his wife had done. As Food Bank is starting to struggle to provide food to our churches, this man picked up the phone and said to me, "David, I'm busy establishing a Christian food bank type of ministry. And I want to invite every Seventh-day Adventist church that is engaged with the community that need food to become members of ours. I will provide food free of charge to Adventist churches as they engage with their community." What a blessing. And as I invited and shared with him on Facebook, our evangelistic outreach series, The End, he sent me a text back after the first presentation, and he said, "David, I just want to let you know that I've logged in and I have listened to the first one, and I intend to listen to everyone that will be following." Another slide that indicates another initiative through ADRA Australia. We are currently running an emotional resilience program for the support of all our volunteers that are reaching out to the community. As COVID-19 has impacted the world, our church doors had been closed, but all our ministries, Adventist Community Service as well as ADRA Ministries, had become essential services and is open and free to move around. But it has a toll on our volunteers, and that is that they themselves expose themselves to danger, which therefore has the potential of injuring them psychologically and emotionally. And therefore we've embarked on a series, an 11-week series, on helping them to maintain their resilience, to be able to continue to do their work and actually mentally to come out stronger on the other end. Just yesterday, I had a Zoom meeting with ADRA Asia region, and they've invited me to do the same presentation all over, but this time for the Asia region starting Tuesday coming, and it will actually impact countries like Bangladesh, Cambodia, China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Japan, Laos, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, the Philippines, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and lastly, Vietnam. What a great opportunity for us to extend our resources to help a much wider area. I wish that I had the time to go through church by church and share with you what has been done, because each one has done a phenomenal job. Let me focus on one last report, a report that came in from Lightning Ridge, where Beulah James is operating in very much isolation, far away from the conference support and from other colleagues. She writes to me and she says that Lightning Ridge Church has an average attendance of 20 to 25 members on Sabbath. But they are blessed with a great team of the full sum total of 6 dedicated workers to reach out to the community. She says that initially we reached out to the spiritual thirsty people in 7 surrounding Aboriginal towns, some up to 4 hours drive away. Each town received 24 hampers, food hampers, once a month. They enjoyed kids' Sabbath school with adults attending. Lunch is served and worship is held with a group in attendance. A call came, she continues, through to help the drought-stricken farmers in our area. We reached out to 20 farms at first. The numbers grew steadily, and this year we will be assisting 110 farms. What a phenomenal job for a small group. There isn't just one family on a farm. Their workers too are taken care of. Total outreach program extends to around 240 and will increase to 278 distributions this year. 24 hampers times 7 towns, 168, and now on top of that, 110 farms with multiple groups on each farm that needs their assistance. We hope to distribute adult Bibles, children Bibles, adult morning devotions, children morning devotion. This is how Beulah operates. The need of the community is just an opportunity to reach them with the gospel. She says we keep the distribution material to everyone the same, so there's no favoritism or complaints happening. This outreach had resulted in 16 people that made a decision already to be baptized. 4 of them had already been baptized. I'm studying, she says, with the rest, and last week, few more have requested studies. The harvest is ready, she says. The laborers are few. Cost of Bibles and Christian material has taken an investment already of $41,260. And I know that Beulah is generously supported by many of our members today that are listening to this report. Friends, truly, as over 100 years ago, the prophetic voice spoke to this church and said that Christ's method alone will have true success in reaching people. In these hard-to-reach areas, a food hamper becomes the key to open the door for the gospel. Let's just very briefly look at future directions that we're moving in. The new growth corridor for the Central Coast area is the YE region. In the YE region, which is very hard for Christians to break into, only 2 churches has been allowed. One of them is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Right next to this church is a community of over 100 individuals and families that have been living without water, electricity, no services. They are called the paper title people. And even the council is recognizing that the Seventh-day Adventist is the go-between entity that is the spokesman for those people to council. And when the council wants to meet with that group of people, they actually meet in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. With a new growth developing there, this church has embarked on a phenomenal new project for a small group with predominantly retired people. They have decided that they wanted to have a building to be able to respond to the needs of their community. I want to invite you to partner with YE Church. I want to ask you to support them to build that $450,000 building so that they will be ready to provide a far more effective service to the community. Friends, furthermore, while our conference financially is battling, and most of our departments' budget has been frozen, our churches are engaging with the community in a far greater way. And I want to ask you to give us the means to be able to support those churches. Donate to the conference office, tag that money for the Adventist Community Service, appeal to respond to the needs of the community, and we will make sure that that money is given out to the communities, to the churches where the needs are the greatest. I thank you for the opportunity to report. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your continued support as we engage with the community at the point of need. May God bless you.